Welcome to the world of metal. Unleash the fury within and join the metal revolution, where metalheads unite. From the underground to the mainstream. And this is your host, Luke Robinson. And remember, metal isn't just music, it's a way of life. And we celebrate it here at the Metal Blast Podcast.
Okay.
So, James Shield.
That's me.
Yeah, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's just kind of usual weekend, but as I say, yeah, it's nothing bad, nothing exciting.
Yeah. So on Instagram, you're called British Man in Japan.
Yep, it's a rather apt title because I am both a British man and in Japan.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you was obviously born in the UK.
Yes.
And then you moved over to Japan. Is that recently or is that for?
Well, it feels pretty recent, but it's not really that recent. Now I think about it, it was about 3.5 years ago. So just before Corona is
Wow.
Essentially about 2 weeks or so before all that kicked off.
Wow. Yeah, hell. Oh, that's
but
crazy.
I am actually going to go home for the first time since then next week. So I will finally visit home again.
Yeah. So whereabouts in UK is home?
I'm originally from a small town called Knaresborough in North Yorkshire. It's kind of between York and Leeds.
Yeah.
And then I went to university in Birmingham, and then from Birmingham to Osaka, which is where I am in Japan.
Cool. Yeah, I think I've it's Knaresborough, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's just next to Harrogate.
Yeah, it's got like a silent S. Is that right?
Silent K.
Oh, silent K.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, yeah. I think I've delivered there before when I used to deliver beer, and I'm pretty sure I've delivered around that area. Did a lot.
There are a large amount of pubs, so that is quite believable.
Yeah. I did a lot of York and Leeds sort of work, but I'm pretty sure I'd worked around there. So you did university in Birmingham then?
Yes, I went to Royal Birmingham Conservatoire.
Yeah,
so it's like a music university, basically.
Right. So what was that more classical based, or was it more performance or technology? What kind of a music course was it?
So I did both bachelor and masters there, and they were both music technology, but it was really like a composition course, but you just used technology for the composition. So I didn't have to write scores. I just had to produce music like a portfolio each year, basically. But the sort of academic side was kind of classical based. So we did like music history, which was classical, and various other things. Some things that I'm not entirely sure were that useful to me, like we had to do historical performance practice, which when you play electric guitar is not necessarily that useful because there's not really that much history of electric guitar.
Yeah.
But I do know how to play authentic Baroque violin, I suppose.
Wow.
Though I can't play violin, so if you ignore that small detail.
Yeah. So how did you find university as a music student? Like, was it what you thought it was going to be, or did you finish the course and go, that was nothing like what I thought it was expecting?
That's a good question. It was kind of as I was expecting, in that I basically just did music there, and that was all I had to kind of think about. And it was a good opportunity to meet like different people and kind of learn from people. But the things that were a bit different is I ex- I expected the like other students. It was a bit different with the music tech students, but sort of the non-music tech students would sort of go home and then they would leave music behind, if that made sense. It was a bit like
Yeah.
that was the work, and then
Hmm.
like whereas I'd go home and I'd like listen to music all the time, and like I remember I had a couple of friends, I think it was in the first year, and like I'd always go home and stick music on, and they'd be like, "Oh, I can't believe you can like keep listening to music. You've just been studying music all day."
Yeah.
So that was kind of a surprise. But with the other music tech students, they were similar. Like it seemed to be more like performers kind of would like. I mean, to be fair, they do sort of have to practice for like 10 hours playing the same thing repeatedly. So I can kind of understand that probably gets a bit tedious, but um the anyway the like other music tech students would be similar, which was quite nice. So I kind of picked up quite a lot of like different music from people, which was nice. And yeah, it was a good experience, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, pretty good. Like, I think it, like for me, university, it wasn't all what I was expecting it to be. Um, but like you say, you do get to meet a lot of people from different musical backgrounds,
Yeah.
and you can learn from them, and they can learn a bit from you. So it's really good in that way. And plus, do you do you still do you write any music with other people, or is Twilight Sword like your just main project now?
So that's the main project. So yeah, that I mean that's reasonably new. We kind of started a year ago, but we didn't really start properly because we didn't have all the members until sort of December.
Hmm.
So really, it's been almost half a year. Sorry, just over half a year, and we've only just had our first performance. But yeah, that is the main focus with music now. But I have also done a few other bits and pieces. I've done a couple of my own songs, and I'm working on another song at the moment that's sort of completely different to. It's not metal at all. It's kind of I don't know, 80s style. And then I've done a few bits of like media music. I've got a friend in America who I often try and do. We do sort of little short videos and things. So yeah, I try and diversify because I find if I just do one thing,
Hmm.
I kind of get bored of it. So I have to do
Right.
something totally different to kind of uh, keep
Like
the
a,
momentum up. Yeah.
yeah, like a little side project sort of thing.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think it's just like a refresh. It's like I suppose it's like food. If I like, I love pizza, but if I ate pizza for every meal, I probably wouldn't love pizza anymore. Like I have to
yeah,
have something else in between the pizza. So it's kind of
yeah,
like that. Like I really like doing metal music, but like sometimes I want to do some like synth music or I want to do some orchestral music or so
yeah,
I like to mix it up a bit. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the thing. From what I've heard from Twilight Sword is that it's it's power metal.
Yeah.
I'm getting power metal vibes like fantasy, and it's got that orchestral side of things to it as well. So
Yeah.
it's not just metal. Um, so you kind of blend in two genres together, which is orchestral metal is like my sort of thing. Like that that's
Yeah.
like my number one type of type of metal, really. So what you do is like, it's like my jam.
Oh,
um,
that's always good to hear. Yeah. I mean,
but
I'm kind of the same. Yeah.
yeah, and the good thing about that is like you just said, like if you're just not having a metal mood, well, not you just feel like composing something different is like you can just go all orchestral
Yeah.
or just a bit of synth, and you might even end up coming out with a completely different projects. And you know what I mean? It's just a massive world of music, and you can go down so many different paths. Um, so yeah, I think it's really interesting what you're doing, blending the power metal with orchestral sort of thing. But so what came first then? Did you start playing guitar first? Is that what really got you into music, and then orchestral came later on?
Yeah, that would be accurate. I mean, the sort of real. I mean, I dabbled with learning instruments as like a child in primary school, but I never. I was always kind of rubbish at practicing, so I never like stuck with any of them. But the thing that really got me into music is, which I actually said this in my university interview, and I'm surprised they thought it was a good answer. But the thing that really got me into music was Guitar Hero,
Yeah,
which I don't know if you remember.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that was
yes.
my first kind of like, oh, this is really cool. I kind of want to do this. So then I
Which
started learning guitar from that.
which Guitar Hero was it, or just all of them?
I think I had one and three, and I'm not sure which one was the one that made me really want to learn guitar. But I remember getting my first iPod and like downloading all the songs that were on Guitar Hero. I think it was
Right.
Guitar Hero One, and like that was when I was like really starting to get into music properly. I mean, I always liked music, obviously, but like that was kind of when I really started to get into it. So I don't know how old I would have been then, but um, I don't know how. I can't remember when it came out, but I was probably towards the end of primary school, and that was kind of, or maybe the beginning of secondary school, and that was where I sort of really started to get
Yeah.
into it. And then yeah, I thought, oh, I better learn guitar so I can play these songs.
Did that game get you into metal, or was you already into metal before that game?
That probably did get me into metal, I think, because I mean, actually, no, that's not quite true. It sort of got me into metal, but I do remember when I was in reception, which for people who are not from the UK is like 4 or 5 years old.
Hmm.
Um, I did really like Linkin Park, which I guess they're sort of new metal.
Yeah.
Um, so I did used to really like them as a quite a young child. I remember I used to listen to them with my mum a lot in the car.
Yeah.
Um,
That's cool.
but other than that, I'm not sure. Like other than like the because obviously like around that time there was like that was the time where there were a few kind of hit metal songs. Like you had like was it Evanescence and Linkin Park and obviously
Yeah.
Slipknot were fairly popular around that time. So like I was kind of aware of it, but it wasn't until probably around then that I really got into it. And I remember the first album I like went to buy by myself. Well, not by myself. My mum paid for it, but the first album I sort of was like, I want to go and buy was Inhuman Rampage by Dragon Force, which obviously
Yes.
was from Guitar Hero 3.
Yeah.
Um, so that was my first proper like, and I listened to that like just on loop for weeks. I think when I got that, I had like one of those. We're gonna sound ancient, but like, CD Walkmans. Like I used
Hmm.
to like sit in the car in the back of the car, just like listening to that like repeatedly. So I used to really like that.
Yeah. The CD Walkman just it never left my side. Everywhere I went,
Yeah,
that came with me. Um, but yeah, I remember when Inhuman Rampage first came out, and it was just like I said, all these Kerrang classics, and I was into like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Green Day, and then that came out, and you're just like, I've never heard singing like that, never heard guitars like that, and the drums, like, how does somebody play that fast? It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, what the hell? And I think when through Fire and the Flames ended up on Guitar Hero, I think that introduced a lot of people to metal. Like,
definitely, yeah. Uh,
um,
So I didn't really realize at the time like how big a song that was, but I remember so our band just had our first gig recently, and like after we did like an after party and we did karaoke. So I was singing Through the Fire and the Flames at karaoke, and like the whole room of like our friends who are not like massive metalheads, but they were all singing along. Everyone knew that song. And it's
yeah,
kind of cool to kind of think that like a power metal song, which is like, usually it's a genre that's not super famous or cool. So
yeah,
it's like it's kind of cool that like there is a song that like everyone knows, and I think that is, as you say, because of Guitar Hero.
yeah. It's like I come across people who just they don't know what power metal is. They don't know what Dragon Force is, but they've heard the song
Yeah,
through Fire and the Flames. And they go, what is it? That Dragon band? Like Dragon Force. You know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean? But yeah, I love it when you've got games and metal and they come together.
yeah,
Um, it just introduces people to it. Um, like the GTA games.
yeah,
There's, got the rock radio stations on there, and that's introduced people as well. Have you seen many bands live, or have you seen Dragon Force live?
I've not seen Drivers. I almost saw them before I came to Japan, but they haven't been here obviously since I've came. So I haven't had the chance. But so no, I haven't seen Drivers. I do want to. I think the last like big concert I went to was Ghost. That was just before I came here. So I went to go see
Yeah.
Ghost in Leeds, and they were really good.
Oh,
Uh,
the Leeds Arena,
yes, yeah,
2019.
yes, that would be the one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there. I went
Oh,
to
were
that
you?
gig.
Okay.
Yeah,
Small
absolutely
world.
brilliant. Absolutely
It
brilliant.
was. Yeah, it
Nicholas
was
out on
so good.
saxophone.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they're absolutely brilliant band. He knows what he's doing. That
Yeah,
Tobias Forge.
West Forge. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, he's really good. And like he, have you ever listened to like his previous band? I forgot what they call it. Is it Repugnant or whatever? Um,
I knew he was in a band for quite a while, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
like it's kind of interesting because they're like a sort of extreme metal band, kind of black metal-y, not quite black metal, but that kind of vein. And that's like totally different, obviously, to Ghost. But
mm,
I can kind of hear like some of the like elements that like he's carried over. He's obviously just a really talented musician, and he's kind of obviously nailed how to write these kind of like, super catchy, really accessible kind of, but also really good, like sort of it's almost like pop metal, I suppose, if you know what I mean. It's like or
yeah.
arena metal, I suppose. Yeah,
I
it's just
mean,
really good, really good.
some people might just see him as, oh, he's a vocalist and he likes to dress up, but really he knows exactly how to write songs. He understands
Yeah,
how music works, how live performance works, and he just knows so much.
yeah.
And and yeah, I think I've seen him 4 times in Leeds.
All
Uh,
right, wow.
the first time was actually Leeds Student Union
Okay,
university.
yeah.
There was something like, I don't know, 100 to 200 people, something like that.
Wow,
And they
yeah,
were
yeah.
really crammed in. And I forgot I forgot the first or second track on the first album. They played that one, and he like didn't turn up on stage. He like fainted, like
Ah,
because it was like so hot, and obviously they're wearing masks and that. So the band just stopped playing. They were like, "Oh, where's Papa?" And then like 5 minutes later, he came back on. He was like, "Oh, sorry, I just passed out." I'm like, bloody hell. And then it was Leeds Academy, and he fell off the stage, like just full on
all right.
fell forward. But
Wow.
I didn't know that. I thought he jumped off to high five somebody, but he actually just fell off the stage. I thought, he doesn't have much luck playing at Leeds. But then saw him at Arena when you went, and it was just what a show! Like,
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the first support act from that group. They were called oh, what's their name? Not Testament. That's a thrash metal band.
were they like Ghost?
No, they were kind of well, they're sort of like Ghost, but they had like that extreme sort of extreme metal vocals, but like the music was almost kind of like classic metal, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It was almost like Black Sabbath with kind of the name will come to me. I'm pretty sure it begins with a T. Tribulation. That's it.
Were they like really goth? Really goth?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, yeah, I
And they
think
were really cool.
yeah, yeah. I
And
should
in
probably
fact,
check them out more actually.
well, they put an album out last year or the year before, and that was really good. Like
Mm.
I can't remember the name of the album, but it has like a sort of white, sort of classical statue on the front of it. I think it's a bust of someone, and that's like just the album cover. But like they were, yeah, they were really good, and they were really good live. That was they were a great opener.
Yeah, yeah,
But
they
yeah,
definitely
Ghost was.
was. It definitely was. I'd say they were one of the bands that I can't believe I haven't, but they were one of the bands that I wanted to check out afterwards. But I haven't, but I will.
Yeah, yeah,
So thanks for the reminder.
no
um,
worries.
but yeah, yeah, great show. Like, uh, but the whole ghost thing from the student union to the arena, I think it was like 4 years apart, 5 years
Yeah, it was
apart.
pretty quick, I think, the rise.
So it's like, you know, it's like it's a brand, isn't it? Like people actually turn up to the shows dressing like them.
Yeah,
Um, you know what I mean? And they can put Popper's face on pretty much anything, you
yeah,
know. So yeah, they know what they're doing, and the music's great.
yeah. It's
Um,
it's yeah, it's really fun, and yeah, they're a
and
solid group, I think.
obviously it's got that little bit of orchestrations, not
Yeah,
much, but and the whole choirs and stuff like that. Um,
yeah, yeah. And it's
but
really tastefully done. Like it's like as you say, it's not like super kind of epic kind of massive sound, but it's kind of like you have these little things that just give you the right that kind of gothicy kind of
mm,
vibe. Um, so
yeah,
it is very cool. And yeah, I think like arrangement is really the thing he's really good at.
yeah. I mean, I feel like some even if you're not into metal, uh, people can really like Ghost because
Yeah.
I got married 2 years ago and I actually had Dance Macabre as my first dance,
Oh right.
and um, not off the last Ghost album, the one before.
Before yeah.
And people were like, "What was that song you were dancing to? Are really good." I'm like, if I showed a picture of them, they'd be like, "What the hell is that?" But when
Yeah.
listening to it, like, oh, I really like this. I could sing along to it. I can dance to it, and so I feel like even if you're not into metal, you could still like enjoy it. So
Definitely, yeah. They're kind of like a sort of gateway group, I think. If you're kind of wanting to get into metal, but it's new, it's a good kind of it's structured and like a lot of it harmonically is very pop music based, but it just has those like sort of kind of heavier elements that kind of give it that kind of big sound and yeah. So I think it's definitely a good kind of gateway into that world if it's kind of something you're not used to.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like a gateway to metal. Yeah, definitely agree. But would you say Ghost are a metal band?
I think so, yeah, because musically they've got a lot of the elements of metal in there. I mean, I think it's difficult these days because certainly like especially people who are not into metal that much, like I think people think like death metal is or deathcore or whatever is like how all metal sounds, and then it doesn't sound like that. Obviously, like
Yeah, yeah,
it's they're not sort of Slaughter to Prevail or something, but they're like if you kind of compare them more to like like Black Sabbath or like I suppose like the Black Album Metallica is probably a good comparison.
mm,
Like that kind of they've got that heavy sound and they've got a lot of the sort of like they tend to do a lot of like the sort of chromatic kind of harmony that's very common in metal, especially that kind of metal.
yeah,
But they've just kind of weaved in those kind of hooks, sort of more poppy hooks.
yeah,
Um, so I would say I think obviously it depends on the song, but on the whole, yeah, I would call them a metal group. I think.
yeah.
Um,
I would say metal because there's a lot of people online saying, "Oh, they're not metal." It's like I would say they is, but like when you said Black Sabbath, I'm like that is true because obviously you've got the distortion guitars, which is a big part of metal, but you've got the whole I think it's diminished fifth, like the Devil's Note,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
which Black Sabbath did on their first song, Black Sabbath.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I feel like Ghost also sing like that as well. Uh,
Yeah,
and
you can definitely hear those influences, like in their music. I think I remember when I first got into them, I read somewhere someone described them as like they're kind of a bit like a sort of heavier Blue Oyster Cult in a way.
yeah,
Like they've
yeah,
kind of got like those sort of classic rock, kind of classic metal vibes, but it's obviously very modern and like catchy. But they do like if you think like that riff at the end of Rats is like that's like such a cool kind of almost groovy kind of metal riff, and that's like
yeah,
unmistakably that sound. So they've always got those bits that are like that's definitely a metal kind of sound.
yeah. The
Um, just
rats and mummy dust, like
mm,
that is like such a like I could just hear Judas Priest playing that. It's like
yeah, yeah,
like dun, 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 dun. Um, but yeah, just like the melodies, like I think
Yeah,
it's the diminished fifth, I think it's the pinnacle. Um, like it goes dun 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 dun, and you're
yeah,
like, well, yeah, that's just like a very spooky sort of melody. I'm not very
yeah,
good at singing it, but you know what I mean. It's like that's not really a melody you hear that often. Um,
yeah. It like instantly brings up, and like you say, gothic I think is really the key. Like they like with the image and the music, like they always have those like elements that kind of it's almost like the sort of like old horror film kind of vibe. You know, they've got like the church organ, they've got the tritone, which is like the classic kind of
yeah,
scary interval,
that's
and
it.
yeah, I think that is probably a good way to describe them as like kind of like gothic horror inspired
Yeah,
kind of thing.
to do that and make it catchy as well.
Yeah,
Um, I think they're doing a really good job with that. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
definitely a band that I think will still be here another 10, 15, 20 years later. Um,
Definitely, yeah. I think yeah,
um,
they've got a lot of potential to keep going, and
yeah, because I always remember people saying around that time when I first discovered them, probably 10 years ago. It's like, oh, there's no good metal bands anymore. Oh, there's nothing great. There's nothing new. I'm like, yes, there is. You just gotta search for it. But there's some like ghosts that just blow up. Um, yeah, so that's really cool, man. That's cool how we
yeah,
went to the same
yeah,
gig.
yeah. Small world, yeah.
Were you standing by any chance?
No, I was up in the seats. We booked it quite late, so there wasn't that much left. So we were reasonably far back, but it was like the venue's like quite good because it's quite tall. If that, so you don't sort of end up that far back. You just sort of end up
Yeah,
quite high up. So
yeah,
it was, yeah, it was good.
yeah. I'll be there in a couple of weeks to see Iron Maiden in Leeds
Oh,
Arena.
nice.
But I've decided to sit because I feel like that'd be a good venue to sit actually because it just goes round the stage, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like you can see really nicely. You're not that far away. It's yeah,
Yeah,
it's nicely laid out, and
yeah.
yeah,
So cool. So you moved over to Japan just before the pandemic.
yeah.
Um, was was everything locked down then?
Uh, so they didn't really have a lockdown here because I think like, the government's not technically allowed to do a lockdown because of the constitution or something. So
Right.
basically, just I mean, there wasn't a rule, but like they sort of said, oh, everyone should wear masks, which everyone did. So like everyone did that, and like all the restaurants had all the plastic screens, and
Yeah.
the only thing they did do is like you couldn't serve alcohol after like 8 o'clock or something to try and discourage people to go out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a huge difference, and also I just moved here like at the peak of it, so I spent most of the sort of lockdown period sort of building IKEA furniture at home, so I sort of missed Corona a bit, and then
Yeah.
it never got that bad here. So
Right. Oh, that's good
um,
then. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
so
there was some countries like Sweden, I think, they just didn't have a lockdown or it didn't really affect them, sort of thing.
yeah.
So that's
The big thing here was just the border. They closed, so they did. You couldn't come to Japan for like
yeah,
2.5 years or something. So like obviously no one could come visit, and I wasn't too sure how it would work if I went home either. So like that was the biggest thing for us was yeah, just it was like isolated as a country, but obviously in the country it was kind of business as usual, but people were just cautious and lots of hand sanitizer and things going around. But
yeah, yeah, cool. So, um, your band Twilight Sword. Um, so I just need to. So, what is when did you start Twilight Sword? Like did the band begin?
so it's quite hard to pin an exact date on it because it took quite a while to find the people because obviously language is a bit of a barrier here because not everyone speaks English and my Japanese is pretty rubbish. So I had to find some people who can speak English. So it took almost half a year to find all the members. Uh, Drums and vocals were the most difficult because they always are.
Mm.
um,
Yeah, that's
um,
true.
so yeah, so eventually we got that. So I'll say about December was when we started rehearsing. And I'd written two songs like ready for December. I hadn't done the orchestration yet, but all the band parts were ready. So that was kind of the start was around then, and then like the other guitarist wrote one song as well. So that gave us three. They're a little long, but so it kind of gave us almost a set. And then in the meantime, I did like an intro track, so that gave us a sort of half an hour's worth of playing.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah, that
right.
was kind of how it started. Basically, is I just I think I've always wanted to do it, but it's always been one of those like, yeah, at some point I'll start a band, and then
Yeah.
like I'll do that at some point. I'll do that at some point. And I was like, no, let's actually do it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
just
do you mainly write all the songs, or is it more of a just 20% each or something like that? You know, you all bring your ideas.
so it's mostly me. The guitarist, as I said, the other guitarist wrote one song. And then I think like going forward, like we're going to keep it probably just the two of us will write songs mostly. But I quite like just writing stuff by myself. So I kind of like to just kind of if I get an idea, I kind of just want to do it. so
Yeah.
um yeah, so of the we've sort of got four tracks done. So I one of them's like an orchestral intro track. So I did that, and then I did the two other songs, and then I did orchestration. All the orchestration I did. Um, and then this like we've got like a story, like is it kind of like do you know like Rhapsody has like a story going through like all their albums.
Yeah.
So we've got that, which I've kind of written this story, which we're going to start like gradually sort of revealing as the songs go on.
Yeah.
Like to start with, we just got like the songs are kind of not that connected, but they're just sort of like I kind of talk about them as like short stories, if you know what I mean. So like one track's just kind of a little snippet of story, and then once we've got the first two albums done, we're then going to start like just doing the story. So the story is something that I've come up with, because I kind of like that kind of world buildingy sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so
so it's two albums. So you've just got a few songs ready
we've
now?
we've got almost the first album written. I've just got the last track, so it'll be five or six tracks, sorry, but like an intro and outro track, and then four songs.
Yeah.
So it'll be about 40 minutes or 45 minutes, something like that.
Oh,
So they're
cool.
kind of slightly longer songs, but uh, yeah. So it's and as I say, they're not connected, although they're all in the same universe, but they're like there's sort of four eras in the story, and like each song's like from a different era in
Yeah.
this album. So as I say, it's like better to think of it as like a short story collection, which and then we're gonna like do a couple of them, so we don't have to worry about making like a cohesive kind of long story because we kind of want to get some more songs done, so we've got more stuff to play. So we're
Yeah.
gonna sort of get maybe two albums of these kind of just short story songs done, and then start on the sort of proper narrative and like start at the beginning, and like each album will like progress through that story further.
Yeah. So you definitely got the ideas for the first two albums. Um,
Mm.
but what's your vision on playing live, or do you want to get good two out? I know you just said you've played your first show.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll play a lot more shows after the first album, or you'll just go straight into the second album, and then you'll have more of a set list to choose from, sort of thing?
Um, Probably just keep playing shows and simultaneously do that. But so because like I don't have like a 9 to 5 job, I sort of work freelance, so I can kind of always find time to work on music stuff. So
That's good.
it's not like such a big issue to do both. Because we've kind of once we got the first album done, like that'll be like obviously when you're starting out, you're not going to be doing a headline show. So you like our first gig was like five bands, so we all had like half an hour.
Right.
So we've already got enough material for that. And then the next song I'm working on for the album is going to be about 10 minutes or so. So we could probably push to 45 minutes like on first album material,
Yeah.
which will be enough, I think, for now. And then yeah, once we've got 2 albums, that'll be like an hour and a half, which is probably more than we're going to be needing to play
Yeah.
for a while. So yeah, that's kind of the plan with that, is to kind of do both. So we have got another gig after I get back from the UK on the 25th of July.
Yeah.
So and then we're going to try organize more over the summer and things.
Ah, pretty cool. So, do you think do you have someone who can like record videos when you're playing live? Because I know you have posted quite a lot of videos on like Instagram, which
Yeah.
I think is pretty cool, especially like the rehearsals, like the band practices and stuff like that. Just get to see like the behind the scenes sort of thing. Um, I don't feel like many bands do that, but I think it's a good thing. I think more bands should do it.
Yeah.
Do you have? Do you think you'll be filming some of the gig?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, we've got like like phone footage of the first one, which I do need to post more clips of. But yeah, that is something like we've got the means to do it, but we just like because it was the first gig and we've not tried like using our like because we've got our own rig, like technology wise with everything like synced up with MIDI. So we kind of didn't want to add recording in as like another thing that could go wrong the first time, but everything worked perfectly. So maybe the next time we might try and add in like recording the audio, in which case then we can sync that to the like film footage people like our friends and stuff do. And then maybe the next step after that is to think about getting someone to film it more professionally. But obviously money is the limiting factor in
Yeah,
that. So we're
yeah,
kind of trying to do as much ourselves as possible for now.
yeah. Are you? I think I saw one on your post. You use Final Cut.
Yes.
Uh, do you edit the videos? Are you into that sort of thing, or does
Yeah, that's for now. It's just me doing that. Yeah. So I tend to. The other guitarist, I think, he sets up the cameras and stuff. So
yeah,
the hardware stuff is his thing, and then, yeah, the sort of editing is I try and do
yeah,
to the best of my limited ability. But yeah.
yeah? It's good. It's good skill to have. And to be able to have that um brain capacity because some people just be like, no, I'm just going to play music. But it's like if you've got that if you've got that skill and interest to make videos, like that's only going to help promote your band more.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so the Twilight Sword song, there's a lot going off in that track, and I really love where it breaks down in the middle. It's got like a little sort of kind of progginess to it. It's like
Ah, the 7/8 bit. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
7/8, is it right? Yeah, I knew there were like some sort of progginess going off there. But I really love that how it breaks it up because I weren't really expecting that. Um, but I think it's really cool how he did do
Thanks.
that and how it builds up. So that's really cool, and it's just very melodic, and it's got the cool power metal like twin guitar harmonies and that sort of thing. And it's just a cool track, man.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask, in the chorus, like you got like backing vocals, but it's like a choir
Yeah.
sort of thing. How did you record those choirs?
So that's yeah. So that's it's kind of a rough version. We'll do a better one for the like real album version. But
Yeah,
all we did for this like demo was we basically just in the rehearsal studio we just like all had like, the dynamic mics like we would live, and then just like we all did each part 3 times. So there's 4 of us doing vocals, so the lead singer and then 3 of us do backing vocals, but we'd all do like each part twice, sorry, not 3 times. And then we like basically layered it. So I'm trying to count in that track. There's the two parts, and then the lead vocal part, which we did double. So that's 12 times, so 24, about 24 tracks of vocals basically. But it's just the four of us layered multiple times, and then live we perform another layer on top of that.
Right. So you have so you've got a backing track playing live,
Yeah,
and it's got those extra layers of choirs on there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. Um, so did you? I mean, I know it's a demo that I've heard, but is the root note harmony in octave?
It's basically the sort of backing vocal bit is just following the guitar chords. So it is
Right,
just the root note of the chords in octaves, basically. So that's like following that pattern, the guitar chord pattern, and then there's another layer so on the top that doubles the like lead vocal line.
right.
Um, so that kind of creates some harmony because the chords don't exactly follow the um,
Leads?
lead vocal line.
Yeah.
So it's kind of maybe it's more like sort of a little bit counterpoint T, but not strictly. But yeah, so that's kind of how that works. It's quite a simple arrangement, really. And then we just like did the classic sort of power metal backing vocal thing of just recording it a million times, so it sounds big.
Nice. Yeah. What do you do about microphone placement when you all did three times individually? Did were there some where you stood further back from the mic and then some like more closer up?
So we didn't. We were kind of pressed for time when we did it because we actually recorded them. Like I think it was a week before the first gig because we'd forgotten to do it. So we didn't really do anything. We literally just set up the mics as we would for a rehearsal, and then just kind of like looped through it three times and kind of did it as quick as we could because we had to do all the backing vocals in one rehearsal session.
Yeah.
Like all the layers of everything. So and also I didn't because I'd written them, but the others had to learn the parts as well in that same session. So
Wow.
it was quite
Yeah.
rushed. So we didn't we didn't do. But for the real recording, yeah, that is what we would do. So we'll use something like this, like a proper cardioid mic, and then condenser mic, and then yeah, we'll try different positions and to try and make it sound a bit more authentic. So it is all quite close.
Yeah.
But it was good enough for the show, I think.
Yeah. Oh, pretty good. So when I listen to my vocalists, I don't know I don't know if he stands further back, for the backing vocals because he does lots of layers, and I think he just goes like further and further back. I don't know if he does actually do that, but it just sounds like he does.
You can do that. I've done that with when I was at university. I tried that with like recording string parts. So I had like four violins or something,
Yeah,
and we tried doing that to kind of make it sound like and layer it to kind of make it sound like there are more than four. Like we did that in a sort of a lesson. So it wasn't for like one of my projects. It was just like a experiment thing in a lesson. But yeah, that is a thing you can do. So that is something I probably would try when we get to the like actual recording of the backing vocals.
yeah, pretty cool, man. Have we got the same mic? Is that?
Yes, I believe we have the Rode NT1.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good. It's a good bargain. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
I think it was 10 years ago. It does actually say 10-year warranty on the box.
Oh, really? All right.
So I think it's 10 years. Probably set October time. I think it was something like 150 quid.
Sounds about right. Yeah, yeah.
You get the mic, get the pop shield. I don't think you get the stand with it.
No,
Um,
no, you don't get the stand with it. Yeah.
and the little holder, and I think the cable came with it.
Yeah, because they
Pretty
do
good
that set.
mic.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's if people ever ask me for like what mic should I get, it is usually what I recommend because it's not that expensive. It sounds like good. You can use it for professional level stuff.
Yeah,
And like yeah, it's not that expensive. You get everything you need.
yeah.
So
I think it's a band called Bloodshot Dawn. I don't know if they were just making a demo or something, but when they were doing recording an album, they were using this mic. It's like, but it just sounds professional. Just it doesn't sound like a cheap mic, and
Yeah,
it blocks out all the background noise. I don't know if you can hear, but I've got a fan going off here. I've got
I can't.
cars.
So yeah, it is working.
You can't hear the fan.
No, not at all. Yeah,
You can't hear the cars outside the window.
no.
That's, I mean, it's such a good mic. Like it just cancels out the background noise.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's
yeah.
just such a cool mic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I always recommend it to people. It's like even if you just want like a decent mic for like chatting with people online, like it's good.
Yeah,
And like having the pop shield's good because like you always get people who get a mic for like playing games or whatever, and
yeah,
then just like you're sat there hearing like like as they're
yeah,
breathing into it. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really know much about microphones when I bought this 10 years ago. I just thought, oh, that's a pretty cool mic, quite cheap. I'll just get that.
Mm,
And then as time's gone along, I've realized how much of a cool, good mic it is.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I said, it's highly recommended.
definitely.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so cool, man. So what has been the biggest challenges as a band member? Um, so far.
Probably the biggest challenge is just finding time when everyone's free.
Yeah.
That's like the classic one, I think, because people obviously we don't make, well, we've basically made virtually no money, so like you can't like people can't like leave their job or something to kind of, or like
Yeah.
it's hard to take days off. So like some members have got jobs or they've got other commitments. So like our drummer, he lives in so the place he lives is called Wakayama. It's like it's another city, sort of takes him about an hour to get to where we rehearse on the train. So and he's also a university student and has a part-time job. So like stuff like that is kind of the biggest challenge really, is just like finding these small number of times where we can actually all rehearse together.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'd say it's definitely one of the biggest challenges. Um, but like you said earlier on, you said that you like to write songs like on your own. Like you can
Yeah.
just full on bash out a song in probably quicker than what it would when there's four other people in the room trying to write a song together. I just think that straight uh, that straight focus, you can actually achieve more. And not everybody's like that, but I'm with you on that one. Like I can just bash out a full orchestral metal track than if I was with like four or five other people. I've
Yeah.
definitely had that before, so I see it exactly what you mean with that. Um, and everybody's got different lives, haven't they? Everybody's got different schedules, so
Yeah.
I'd definitely say you're right with that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
Um,
a universal one.
yeah. So is there anything you would give advice? If is anything else you would say to like aspiring musician someone who wants to write like orchestral power metal? What would you
Okay,
be
so yeah,
advice?
so someone who wants to, well, more not just for orchestral power metal, just if you want to write music generally, listen to like as much as you can, and don't like we touched on this a little bit earlier, but like you get a lot of people who are like for example, they might be like, I want to write orchestral power metal. Great, do that, but don't only listen to that.
Yeah,
It's like you get a lot of people, they're like they want to do this, and that's all they're interested in, which is fine. But I think like we're talking about Ghost and things, like the people that really stand out are the ones that you can kind of tell they've got all these different influences.
that's true.
Um,
Yeah.
and I always think of it like if you're a painter, like you might love blue, but you kind of need to know about all the colors to
Hmm.
be able to, even if you do focus on particular ones. So even if you become like a orchestral metal composer primarily, like there's so much stuff you can put into that from like all types of music. So that would be my big tip. More, not even just composition, just for being a musician generally, is just try and listen to as much different things as possible. Don't kind of be like, I like this and that's it. I think it's like really limiting yourself. You should, yeah, listen to everything. Like you don't have to like everything. Like it's cool to have a favorite type of music, but like appreciate stuff from everything and do actively look for stuff. Like don't just listen to the same albums forever. Like
Yeah.
great, have albums you like, but do keep looking for new stuff. And
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest tip I would give anyone.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, like people saying, "Oh, there's nothing new, there's nothing great coming out anymore." Like, no, there is. But yeah, like you said, like the breakdown of Twilight Sword, it's like I wasn't expecting that little break, that little progginess. You know what I mean? You probably might have been influenced by some prog bands.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was probably the so like obviously I did get into metal, but the first music I was like really into was like sort of the old school like prog rock groups, you know, sort of old Genesis and Pink Floyd and King Crimson and like that kind
Yeah.
of thing. So yeah, that definitely is like I like my sort of secondary school years were that was my big thing, and a lot of my friends were into that. So like yeah, that like that will never go away. There's always going to be like elements of that in what I do. So and if I didn't listen to that, that element wouldn't be there. So that's why you've got to listen to
Yeah.
different things. Yeah.
Exactly, man. So they're like sort of the proggy influences. What other influences has played a big part in this project?
Um, well, obviously, like the sort of more power metal groups, like I mean, Rhapsody's obviously a big influence in this whole genre because they're kind of the probably the biggest group in this sort of power metal kind of symphonic power metal style.
Yeah.
And I do really like them. Things like Twilight Force, their album Heroes of Mighty Magic, I think it's called. That's a solid album, and I really like that because, like, unlike a lot of other ones, I mean, Rhapsody does do this as well, but like the orchestra is really like at the forefront, and like I feel like that was something I want to do with these songs is not just be like a metal band with some orchestra in the background.
Yeah.
Like a kind of my image is more it's kind of like an orchestra that includes a band.
Yeah.
Because like I also really like a lot of film music, and I spent a lot of time at university looking at film music. So like your classics, your John Williams and stuff like that. Like I'm also a big Star Wars fan, so obviously I like the Star Wars music. Like all that kind of stuff, like that's definitely in there as well.
Yeah,
And
man.
even like I have a like probably the music I listen to most after metal music is like 80s synth pop. I really like, like new wave and synth pop and stuff like that. So like there probably is bits of that in there as well. Because I listen to that a lot like, in my free time. I don't know. There's something about the synth sounds from that era I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah. Very good stuff. So well, you mentioned Star Wars. I'm guessing that John Williams could be an influence as well.
yeah,
The orchestra.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you play video games as well? 'Cause obviously you mentioned um Guitar Hero, but
Yeah.
were you ever into like the Star Wars sort of games?
Yeah, yeah. I still my probably one of my top two games. Like one of them is Star Wars Empire at War. I don't know if you remember that one.
Ah,
Going back a
I've
while.
not played it. I've not played it, man.
It's basically like a Star Wars real time strategy game.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of a cool game by itself. But the thing that's really good about it is like its modding community is like still active. I think it came out in 2006, and like even today, like there's like Thrawn's Revenge is a big mod, and like it's virtually like a new game. It's like they've done so much with it. But like that's really cool. So I do really like that. That's probably my favorite Star Wars game, and obviously like the classics like Star Wars Episode One Racer. I remember playing that a lot as a kid on Nintendo 64, or
Yeah.
obviously Battlefront One and Two. Um,
I
yeah,
played. I only played Battlefront 2, but I remember spending many hours
yeah,
um, to play with my brother. Um, I remember when we first got that game, we spent so long playing it. Like when I went to bed and closed my eyes, I could actually still see it underneath my eyelids with all the lightsabers and that. I was just like, "Flipping hell, I can't even close my eyes without seeing it. I think I've played this game way too much.
Yeah,
What an absolute game!
yeah, it was great.
Have you played the Battlefront 2 from 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Oh, the new one, yeah, and I didn't hate it. Like, it got a lot of like slack when it came out for the obviously for the like microtransaction stuff, which obviously that's a separate topic, but and that's kind of sucked. But they did scrap that, and like it is actually quite a fun game.
I
Um,
loved it, me. I
yeah,
absolutely loved it.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so I thought it was a bit of a shame it kind of got tarnished with that. Like it was just it wasn't really it was one of those. It was just the wrong time. Like I think people had been building up annoyance at that kind of thing, and then it came out at a time when that was kind of at a peak. So it sort of
yeah,
got hit with all that. But like yeah, it like at its core, it's a really fun game. So yeah, I have played that with like friends on PlayStation. I haven't played it for a while, but I did at the time. Yeah, I really liked that. I thought it was
yeah.
really fun.
I mean, I've always been like a generation behind when it comes to games. But I remember when it was first advertised on TV, new Battlefront 2, and I'm like, this looks absolutely amazing. But I didn't have a
Yeah.
PS4 or anything like that. Um, but then I did end up getting one, and I got that game. And, man, I just so many hours played on it, and it just made me want to write more music, like
Yeah.
orchestral music, because you just hear orchestral music throughout the game, even when like the game's loading, the main menu, stuff like that. And it just made me love Star Wars even more. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, like I said, I don't understand the hate for it. I I didn't think there were anything wrong with the game. I think
yeah,
people say, "Oh, you need this character, you need that character," but they did listen to fans and bring more characters in and droid
yeah,
decars and stuff like that. When they brought droid decars to it, I'm like, this is so cool.
yeah,
um,
yeah. Like, yeah, they kind of it ended up being a great game, I think, and like it was just a shame it had that controversy at launch because, like, I think if it hadn't had that, it would have been really popular. Like, it was still obviously pretty popular, but
yeah,
yeah, I agree with you. I think it is like at its core, like the actual game is really good. Um,
yeah. I think a couple of months back, I looked up how many active online users still play it. I don't think it dropped like
oh, that's good.
dramatically.
Yeah, yeah,
I could be wrong now, but it was definitely like beginning of the year. I thought, because I think you have to pay like £50 or something like that to play online.
yeah,
I thought, oh, shall I renew it? I don't because um, just had my first kid at the beginning of this year, so I thought, you know what, probably
yeah, yeah,
not gonna have
yeah.
time to play games, so I'll not pay it. But just out of curiosity, I wonder how many do people still play Battlefront 2, and I think it's still got quite a lot of users, so
Fair
um,
enough. Fair enough.
that's pretty good. So maybe one day, and
Yeah, yeah,
we could join online and play online together.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Um, I'm when I can, I've been playing that Fallen Order. Uh,
See, that's one I haven't played yet. Like I've got it. I think I got it for something like £1 on some deal online, and I downloaded it. And I just haven't got around to playing it, but I've got it on my so I've got a Windows partition on my Mac.
yeah,
So I've got it like downloaded to play. But yeah, I've heard that's really good.
yeah.
Um,
For me, it gets better as you go along. Like at first, it's a bit like open world. Wow, this looks amazing, and then I feel like nothing's really happening on this. I think it's like the second planet you go to. I'm like,
mm,
I kind of want like more fighting and more stormtroopers. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I just weren't quite used to the game because I like the Force Unleashed games, and that was just action all the way through.
yeah,
But this is more like puzzle solving and just roaming around on this planet. But yeah, it definitely gets better the further you go along.
yeah,
And I've got to be close to completing it now. But like I say, it's just probably just an hour or two or so at weekend. Um, but
yeah.
yeah,
the thing when you get older, isn't it? You you can afford to buy them and then you can't play them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a stack of games I've not been managed to play. Um, but yeah, yeah. So do you like what you like for books? Do you read a lot of books?
Yeah, so I do read books a lot. I've got quite a lot of the old Star Wars, like the pre-Disney expanded universe books. So I've been kind of
Okay.
working through them gradually, and they're good. But like my other kind of like thing I'm really interested in, I don't know if it's like second, but I've got quite a few things I'm interested in. But one of my big ones besides music is I'm really into history. So
Oh
I
yeah.
read quite a lot of, especially like classical history. So I read quite a lot of like, ancient philosophy and like ancient Greek philosophy or like ancient history and things like that. And like some of that actually does also filter into the story elements of the.
I was just about to say that does sound something you would write about, like with the
Yeah,
lyrics. Um,
exactly. Yeah, there's like elements of that, like and that yes, I do read like a lot of that, and like yeah, fancy. I've been reading. Have you ever read the Once and Future King, the like classic King Arthur book?
you know what, I've not read many books.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm starting like trying to get into it. I've never been good at reading,
Yeah,
but it's something I've been trying to get into. Um,
well, that's
oh,
quite a big one, so don't start with that.
yeah,
It's like I think it's about 850 pages.
yeah.
Um,
So I love Lord of the Rings. I've seen all the
yeah.
films and that, but when I borrowed a book from a friend, I don't know. I just couldn't read it. I don't know. I'm a bit dyslexic, like, so I might be able to
Ah,
read
okay.
something, but it doesn't stick in the brain what I've just read. Um, but the only books that I ever read is just stuff like music related. It just kind of sticks more, in guitar magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But what you're reading, like, I could probably read it, but it wouldn't stick in my head. I'd
Ah,
probably
yeah, I get you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what I mean, I'm just not very good at that sort of thing. But you know, it's good to read. It's good to keep on learning.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's I think that's the key thing is I'm always trying to like learn new stuff. I think that's probably my number one hobby really is just learning stuff, whether that is music or like whatever. Like yeah, it's
yeah, it doesn't stop. Learn doesn't stop at school. You just gotta
no, yeah.
keep. I mean, I've actually like kind of fallen in love with learning after school and university,
Yeah.
um, because well, the world's just always evolving.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I'm similar. I like the older I've got, the more and more I've like enjoyed like yeah, just learning about stuff.
yeah, and it's same with music. Like I've learned more about music and music production, I'd say, after university. Um, but it is what it is. But there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with
yeah.
that. Like it's always
No,
good to keep.
I
Um,
think that's a good sort of advice for people as well. Like you get people that worry that well, maybe I'm too old to start. I don't think that is true. I think you can start any time. Like you've
yeah,
just got to put
there's
the effort in, and you know,
it's never
you,
too late. It's never too late
yeah,
to learn something.
yeah,
Um,
definitely,
but yeah, I hear that a lot. Like, oh, I'm too old to do this. I'm like, what?
yeah,
Like, like 50 is not old to me. 50 is like middle age. It's people
yeah,
living to like 90 and 100. So 50 is halfway there, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, if we're lucky.
Yeah,
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 yeah. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's yeah, people worry about like, oh, I'm this age, so I can't do this, and it's oh, you can do anything. As long as you're physically able, obviously. Like obviously if you get quite old it becomes difficult,
yeah,
but even then there are ways and means to get into stuff. So
yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I think we've covered quite a lot um
yeah,
in this episode. I think we're like an hour and 15, something like that.
yeah, something
Um,
like that.
so yeah,
Yeah, you
it's been really good talking to you, man.
yeah,
And
definitely, and yeah, likewise. Well, as I said when you messaged me about it, I'm always happy to talk. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think we have quite a lot in common, really. Not just
yeah,
the music side, but they also like the films and games and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, Yeah. So you're looking forward to coming back to the UK
Yeah,
for a bit?
yeah. I'm not looking forward to the plane because I hate planes. But once I've landed, I'm sure I'll have a good time.
How
Um,
long does it take on the plane?
I think like on the plane is about 20 hours, but the total trip I think is basically like a day. It's like almost a day of traveling, and I can't sleep on planes, so
No.
I will be aware of all of those hours passing.
Oh my God. But I feel like the longer the plane journey, the quicker it goes, do you reckon? Or if you went on a 2 hour plane journey to Tenerife from the UK, you'd be
Yeah,
like, God, this is dragging. Like,
I
or
suppose you sort of you prepare for it mentally a bit more if you're like, oh, I've got like 20 hours of this. Like, whereas if it's like 2 hours, you know, that's not that long, and then it feels really long. So yeah, you could be right, but
yeah,
I don't know. I just if I could go by train, I would, but I think it would take a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty good, man. So before we wrap up this episode, like, where can people uh check out your music or like online? Where are you
So
mostly active?
the main outlets are on Instagram. So the our band is at Twilight Sword HQ. That's
Yeah,
just all one word. And if you are interested in me for some reason, you can find me at british.man.in.japan.
yeah.
So,
Especially if
yeah,
you're into like composing orchestral stuff.
definitely, yeah, yeah, and
I
yeah.
think
Or if you
that's
just want to,
sorry, so go on, go on.
I was just gonna say, if you just want to have a nosy at, you know, stuff I'd get up to over in Japan as well. Obviously, I do post that occasionally.
Yeah, definitely. Like, do you prefer Japan then? Like,
Um,
or is it
it's
just
hard to say really. Like I've got like a good group of friends and like life's pretty easy here, I think. But I don't know. I think I can be happy anywhere because I kind of do the same things anywhere. I can watch films, play games, make music wherever I am. But like, I feel pretty settled at the moment because yeah, I've got like, a good group of people. I think
yeah,
people's kind of the main thing. Like if you surround yourself with good people, you can be anywhere.
definitely. Like
Yeah,
that is one of the key things in life. Like, you've got your own happiness,
yeah,
um, but you've also got to surround yourself with other people that make you happy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
that's the second part of happiness. Is make it knowing what makes you happy, and then surrounding yourself with that
Yeah, yeah.
with great people. Um, it looks like we're running out of time on this one again. Yeah, just one last question then before we wrap up.
Sure.
Um, what do you use for what software do you use for orchestrations? Like, what plugins do you use?
So I used Logic as my DAW, and then the excuse me, the orchestral samples are Spitfire BBC Symphony Orchestra.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's my main one, and then for synths, I've used the mostly used the Arturia V collection, and then I also have the Korg Triton plugin, which is like the old uh, like workstation synth that you probably saw like everyone use in the 90s and 2000s.
yeah,
But yeah, they're my main things.
yeah. Pretty cool, man. Yeah, I saw Spitfire at uni, but I've not got it with me. Um, but how did you find about using it? Was it like fairly easy to
Yeah,
use?
so before that I used East West, and I felt like the difference was kind of night and day. Like East West, that was good, and like you can work at it and make it sound really good, but like kind of straight out the box, the Spitfire stuff was just really easy to use, and they have like a free Logic template you can download, which like has like all the articulations preloaded and like stuff sent to buses ready. So that
That's
takes a lot
pretty
of
cool.
setting up out. So yeah, I would definitely recommend them. Like it's I felt more like inspired to write with using it.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, it was definitely a good purchase. It's not the cheapest thing I've ever bought, but I think I've got like the money's worth from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want the real stuff. Because I know
Yeah,
people who just illegally download shit, and it doesn't always work and having that customer support there, it's definitely worth the money. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get into Spitfire in the future because I know they are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're really good. I
Yeah.
definitely recommend them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pretty cool, man. Well, thanks for joining me on the very first episode of the
Yeah,
Metal
thank
Blast
you.
podcast. And it's been great to finally talk and have you share your experiences and knowledge and sharing your passion for the power metal.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And yeah, well, thank you very much for having me.
yeah, my pleasure, yeah.